Dear Mooji, I hope you can read my question. I did self-inquiry for 2 years and stopped because I felt it was not working. Is this Bridget? Or I did self-inquiry for 2 years and stopped because I felt it was not working. It was just mental exercise and I was getting exhausted. I even thought, this is not for me. Maybe this doesn't work for everybody. For everyone. After this season in Rishikesh, I felt I need vacations from this. During your last retreat in Myanmar, instead of mentally doing self-inquiry, I just kept quiet, observing, not making questions. At a point I was doing nothing at all, not even observing, and this thing came up. I can't explain, but I really felt I was not the body, not the mind. I knew that intellectually, but this time was not a thought. I felt I was nothing at all, nothing, emptiness, space without specific place. I couldn't locate myself. I laughed because it seemed so obvious. Some questions I had vanished immediately. Somehow, I felt the questions were silly in a good way. From this laughter, suddenly a panic attack arose. Who am I? Where am I? Something in me was really panicking. Those questions were echoing in my mind in a despair mood, repeating themselves, demanding for an answer I couldn't find. I started to cry, like if I was on my funeral. I felt I was on my funeral. I don't exist. Wow. All this I explained happened in an instant, was super quick. My questions are, is this normal? What was that? People always talk about beautiful experiences. This was so weird. Actually panicked in me. I thought I didn't like the person, that I was sick of it. But after this, I realized I am much more attracted and in love with a person than I ever imagined. Love you so much. Thank you so much for your guidance. Much love, Martha. Okay. So wasn't doing anything when we resumed our retreat. Kept quiet, observing, not making questions. At a point, I was doing nothing at all, not even observing, and this thing came up. I can't explain, but I really felt I was not the body, not the mind. I knew that intellectually, but this time it was not a thought. I felt I was nothing at all, nothing, emptiness, space without specific place. It's beautiful. Unless the mind is still there. But here, at this point, no mind. See? I couldn't locate myself. And I told you after the meeting with Papaji what happened. And suddenly, this thick cloud of frustration and anger and so on just vanished. And I could not find myself. Now, it's a strange thing to say. I couldn't find myself. Of course, in that moment, I was not thinking, I cannot find myself. But it was there. Something was looking, I looked at my hands, the hand, but there was nobody in them. That's a funny thing to say, you know, and it's not enough. It was nothing. No person was there, you know, but no fear was there. Just this vastness, no end. And then quickly, this love arose. My link with time again, and with form came. I saw Papaji's face, and then for the first time, I felt love towards him. I realized in that moment I did not feel this love before. Maybe I felt a bit fear, but love that didn't happen until this moment came. I could not locate myself. I just laughed because it seemed so obvious. You see, some questions I had vanished immediately. Somehow I felt the questions were silly in a good way. So all questions up at this point now just seem like, why would you want to ask that? It's just so simple. Like, I'm here, I'm just here. What questions is to ask? Who wants to know what? Everything is perfect. You see, this realization, maybe hundreds of little things vanish and completely satisfies themselves in that instant of time. It's clear. You see? Because the mind is in clock time, but the self is in no time. So this is good up to here, no? Then this is this much of the letter. This is this much, very good. From this laughter, suddenly panic attack comes. Very often on the verge of a realization or a very significant or profound insight. Backlash from the mind. Sometimes the strongest resistances or doubts or fears can come. It's not new. It's not new. So from this laughter, suddenly panic attack arose. Who am I? Where am I? These questions coming out of this vastness. Who am I? Where am I? Something in me was really panicking. What is it that's panicking?
The mind.
The mind is panicking. The mind is panicking. See? It still held the notion of a self. And the notion of a self was started. Now, where am I? Something in me was really panicking. Those questions were echoing in my mind in despair mood, repeating themselves, demanding for an answer I could not find. I started to cry. What happened? Nothing happened. Nothing happened. The mind pulled out one of the aces. And he says, he's going. Where am I? Where am I? Everywhere. Oh, I'm not supposed to be everywhere. Oh my God. So maybe some panic is going. Something is bought into that reflex from the mind. I started to cry like if I was on my funeral. But only then, because something you switched and went with the mind. If you didn't switch and went to the mind, go to the mind, you may be at your funeral but feel very happy. Oh. But you bought into the identity and, oh my God, no. You see like this. Just chick. Huh? Now, chick. Funeral. Dead. Chick. Looking at the body, then something is looking left or right. Something is looking left or this way. What is the state of that one? So, the questions were echoing in my mind in a despair mood, repeating themselves, demanding for an answer I couldn't find. I started to cry, as if I was on my funeral. I felt I was at my funeral. I don't exist. Wow, I don't exist. I don't exist. It could be I don't exist. No, I don't exist. Can you see? The same word, different attitude. From one, I don't exist. I don't exist as just person, as my conditioning. I don't exist. Yeah? I am. Okay? Big relief. Then a little bit click. Oh no, I don't exist. Oh, same thought, different thing. No, look at this now. I don't exist. Wow. W-O-O-W. All this I explained happened in an instant. It was super quick. Like this, no? My questions are, is this normal? Yes, it is. Many people who have somehow been thrown into the atmosphere of their own essence, the reaction, something like, whoa. Even one friend, she's coming before with Shankara from Italy, said he's walking in the market, in Brixton Market, and suddenly she found just the walking was happening. So there was no person walking. It's amazing. And suddenly, thought comes, oh, where am I? And fear came. And after the fear, but, oh, and after, why I come back so quick? There's nothing. You're not going to vanish forever somewhere in some. You saw that you have to get accustomed. I tell you many times, you become more familiar with being empty. Because so often here, the very climate of Sangha is the self. Helps you to recognize and to support your seeing and your recognizing. And the self. It's not a religion. The self is not the religion. I was saying the other day, to Krishna Bhai, we were driving, and I say, many people, many groups, religions are claiming, we are the only one. I said, there is only one. He is without religion, beyond religion. They're thinking, I'm the only one. I said, there is only one. He is beyond religion. Religion is only finger pointing towards it. Here it says no. Is this normal? What was that? You see? Not what is. No, what was. It's gone now. When you say was, it's gone now. Your mind was not worthy place. But where is it gone? From nowhere. It's here. You were kissed from inside. You were kissed from inside. And you should allow that one who kissed you to swallow you up from the inside. It's just a play. Something happened like that. Next time you come again, maybe not so quick to panic. He's helping you to become more relaxed and to trust. Not to go with fear like that. People always talk about beautiful experiences, but this was so weird. It was not weird. It was not weird. You was weird. It was not your thing. You are the weirdo. What exactly panic can mean? Mind is the weirdo. Mind is the panic. And I say, you have to know the difference between yourself and your mind. Also, mind is also part of the self. But while we have the notion that we're a person, mind plays also as the opposite person. And like friend and like enemy almost. And you must use that somehow to transcend that voice, to somehow be switched on in the powers of discernment to know the difference between the truth and the untruth. That is the game of life. It's just a game of life. I thought I didn't like the person. Here comes the last finishing now. I thought I didn't like the person, that I was sick of it, sick of being a person. But after this, what is this? I realize I'm much more attached to and in love with a person than I ever imagined. Can you understand this now? You took the wrong door. You went to the wrong door. Right? Instead of looking and saying that the person is it's just a costume that the infinite is wearing. You identify with the costume. And now, I thought I'm never going to let go of my t-shirt again. Okay. Love you so much. Thank you so much for your guidance. But are you receiving my guidance? You can only say thank you, and then I would say you're welcome. When you follow it, or you say, after all of this, you say thank you for your guidance. Are you following my guidance? You wouldn't have gone through that door. You wouldn't have gone through this door. Isn't it? But it's okay. It's okay. We're all allowed to make as many mistakes as you want. Okay? Because it's just a game. When you get tired of it after a while, so try a different door. Now there's no such one going, again they make another mistake. No, it's like this. It's something like this. We don't learn on the first day. Over and over and over and over. I was an adult before I caught on to something my granny told me when I was a little boy or something. Some old person tell you something, don't eat so much sweets or whatever. Or whatever. Silly example. But they tell you many things. Don't eat so much sweets. After a certain time, nobody's going to want to kiss you. Your teeth's going to look funny. I'm young. I got time. Anyhow, so this is everything is good about your letter. Everything is good about your letter. I enjoy reading this letter. Everything is good. But something kind of sort of got afraid and went its place. You bought the pirate copy. They said one time, I think it was 2 nuns were doing some meditation. And then at a certain point they'd gone so far, then also go beyond identity. But they found it so traumatic because they could not find any identity at all. And they'd come to a place where no other, no I, no nothing at all. But it was dark. There's no life at all. Just emptiness like we talked about. There was no life at all there. So when they came out of their meditation, they were actually writing books that you should never try and go beyond the person. Because something strange there. So I'm happy to speak about that, because sometimes the mind gives you your first taste of so-called awakening. It simulates awakening, but it shows you that there's no person, there's no other, there's no happiness, there's no sadness, there's not life nor death. Because someone says, yeah, there's all these things. You heard it like this. But then it's cold and dark. No, it's not at all. But that was the version that their mind caught something. And so fear came. So that's as far as they went. They got the pirate copy. They got the mind's version. The mind assumed the form of an awakening. And rather than, they did not perhaps have a good guide or somebody to tell them, look, this is only another idea you're looking at. Don't formulate any conclusions, because your conclusions are going to be premature right now. Just stay emptiness. Just stay as the emptiness. Don't try and identify or understand it. Then they may have gone through. But what happened is something panicked, and then somebody came out, and now they're probably very afraid to go to do any meditation, because the bitter taste in the mouth.